welcome to Across the Park podcast, the big Merseyside Derby preview with myself, Ian Mills, opposition supporter, with no disrespect to some of our opposition supporters on the Bournemouth fan channels and the Southampton fan channels. I think everybody recognises this man. Jamie Carragher. Carragher, thanks for joining us.
All right,
how are you?
Yeah, good mate, yeah, good. A little bit more nervous for the derby than I probably would be before Everton's result against Arsenal, so yeah, should be good.
Yeah, have a good show. If you don't mind, we'll talk a bit about when you were one of us, if you will. I've read your book, and you talked about, as a young Evertonian, even then, in the 80s, fearing seeing the big red wall coming out to warm up, I think was what you said, and there was a bit of fear back then. Even in the 80s, were Evertonians fearing the derby like that?
I'm probably more talking late 80s, not right, probably 85, 86. I mean, I didn't know any different then. Everton were obviously the best team in the country in 85. I remember the derby in 86. Dalglish scored after about 30 seconds. I was in the main stand, yeah. They went 3-0 up actually, I think, after about, I don't know, I think it was 3-0 at half time and Everton came back 3-2. Yeah. But it was more like the late 80s. And what I mean by that was, I always remember, probably like yourself, you get in the game an hour before the game, you're watching the warm-up, and Everton had just come out in dribs and drabs. And then there'd be no sign of Liverpool, and next thing the whole team would come out at one, and it'd just be like, whoa. Yeah. And it used to always make me think, it made Everton look a little bit amateur. The way they come out for the warm-up, this was like, they all come out together, and all the Liverpool fans in the park end, you'd be thinking, oh God, yeah. Just get that little bit of nerves and fear. And there's one thing, I don't know if anyone else can remember this, but I remember watching Everton warm up, not for a derby game, but there was a spell where Pat Nevin used to go and goal. Anyone else ever has anyone else ever said that?
I think Southall
used to take shots at Pat Nevin, but you're a bit like, just about to go and play a game, mate. This can't be right. You know, when you're thinking, I know all the crowd will be laughing and I'll be thinking, this can't be right. I think Pat Nevin might have been sub. I'll let him off. But yeah, it was just that thing of them all coming out and you're thinking, oh God.
Yeah. So when you look back, like you probably answered this question a million times, but because it's new to our show, we'll ask you it again. Any memories stick out in the derbies when you watched them as an Evertonian? Was it like the 4-4 or any Wembley games?
Yeah, I was at 4-4. I was at the 4-4, yeah. I was, I'll tell you where I was in the 4-4. Obviously it was standing up then, and it doesn't matter how early you get in. When you're only little or young, you're still going to struggle to get a spec. So you'd have obviously the standing, and then you'd have the bit where everyone came in. Yeah. And if you could get on one of them handrails.
It was sound.
Yeah, so I was right on, sort of stood on the handrail on the where everyone walked in and out there. I was on that one for the 4-4. But I remember the first game. The first game was at Anfield, that was 0-0.
Yeah.
Who missed a big chance for Everton? I think it might have been Neil MacDonald. Come out to him on the edge of the box and you're thinking, oh, he's only got to place it and it's a goal. So that was 0-0. I went to 4-4 game. And then obviously Kenny resigned, didn't he?
Yeah.
On the back of that.
Another replay then back then, wasn't it? Another replay?
Yeah, another replay. That was Dave Watson got the winner. Yeah. I was at that game. And I remember, if I remember rightly, that might have been one of the first games. I think the 4-4 game was on Sky, if I remember rightly.
Back in the early days, yeah.
Yeah.
Would have been, yeah.
And I think the next replay was on Sky, because I remember going back to Solly on Marsh Lane. And my dad hadn't gone the game, but everyone was in there, because Everton didn't beat Liverpool that often. Yeah. You know, especially sort of when you got away from the mid-80s, it was like Liverpool were the best team. So to beat Liverpool felt big. And everyone going back to the pub. And I remember sort of getting the bus from, we used to walk from Goodison to Hillside, and then get the bus from there to back to the Beetle Strand, yeah. And then everyone was sort of like jumping, and, you know, I just remember the bus, everyone going mad on the bus back, and then got back to the Solly, yeah.
Class, I'd love to have been with you. Look, some of my fondest memories as a young Evertonian, they weren't necessarily, you know, goal scorers or games. Players in my mind, Duncan Ferguson, I thought give us all in every derby. When Duncan started slowing down, he was replaced by maybe Tim Cahill. If Tim Cahill or Duncan Ferguson were playing in the derby, we had a chance. You played against them. What would you like to play against?
Tough. I always remember the first game I played against Duncan, he scored at Anfield. I think I was about 19. I was centre-back. I played centre-back alongside Steve Harkness in the Merseyside Derby. I know, but he was smaller than me. We were playing against Ferguson. And Duncan did well, obviously he got a goal, but I was seen as if I had done all right against him, because just by having a goal. Because I think for the few years before that, Everton had that great record under Joe Royle, the Dogs of War, and it was like Liverpool were terrified of Everton. Yeah. It was always that. So the fact I'd put a few tackles in challenges made it look like I'd done all right.
Is that in your head? Go to Duncan, show him that I'm not scared of him? Or...
Probably a little bit, but I think I'd have been like that against any player. That's the way I played the game, but probably was a little bit like that. You know, you're only a young kid thinking, I'll try and leave one on him. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's just... and then we played in the played the following season, and I always remember it was always how are we going to cope with Ferguson from a set piece? Yeah. You know, would you believe, even as a 20-year-old kid, I was asked to mark him. So it shows how probably poor we were at the centre of defence, or how poor we were physically. I was still only a kid, and I'm not the tallest. But they wanted me to mark him, and Mike Owen to still sort of be in front of him, just sort of annoying him, just stopping him getting a run, basically. And so we've done this for the first couple. He can't really run or move, he's a bit stuck. And the next one, he's just gone, fuck off, like that elbow me. I'm just going, flying. This ball, I don't even know where the ball is. And I always remember, Michael, so the game goes on, there's another 20 minutes till half time, or whatever it was. It was at Goodison, this one. And I remember Michael Owen coming running in going, because he hadn't been able to, he's up the top end of the pitch, I'm at the back, he's like, he wanted to check if I'm all right, but the game's going on. He's going, are you okay? Are you okay at half time? I'm fine, I'm all right. I've just been Ferguson.
And then the second part of the question there, what was Cahill like? Because I always watched Cahill. I remember the game against Hughes, I think it was FA Cup at Anfield where Lescott scored. And I think Hughes was doing the zonal marking, and he was walking off the pitch and walking back on. And the pundits were like, that must be a nightmare for the likes of Carragher who's doing a zonal. Was he a nightmare to defend?
Yeah, he's a good player. I get on with Tim, I still keep in touch with him now. And yeah, I love Tim Cahill as a player. One of the best players you see in the air, great spring. Yeah. I always remember one game against him. It was at Goodison, and this ball's coming over my head, and I know he's coming. And it was like, oh God. And he didn't end up scoring, he ended up heading it over the bar actually. But it was that thing when he was in the air, and his record goals wise, unbelievable against us, wasn't it? Yeah, he was a brilliant player for Everton. Now I think he'd probably go down as, I would imagine, in your top 2 or 3 signings you've had in the Premier League, I would think, maybe even number 1.
1.7 million he was.
Yeah, the price he got, the goals he got, the big goals, he was an Everton player, wasn't he? He was tenacious, he's good in the air, he get the crowd going, he get a goal. Yeah, he was a really good player, Tim Cahill. Yeah, I like playing against him in a good way, in that I think we both sort of, you know, leave on each other a little bit without it going too far. Yeah. And you accept it a little bit here and there, don't you? But no, he'd always seem to nick a goal, wouldn't he? Yeah. I could
do that now. One question. I think you've probably been asked it before, but maybe not asked it the way I'll ask it now. So we're talking about you being an Evertonian. You're now a cop-out Liverpool fan. How does that happen? Because sitting here now as an Evertonian, and I've never played Liverpool, I've never had the adulation of that fan base that you have. I can't understand how I could ever be anything good there. What happens? Is it a game, a year?
No,
2
I mean,
years,
I was still an Evertonian when I was playing in the youth team. Yeah. I was still an Evertonian when I was playing for Liverpool Reserves. I remember playing for Liverpool Reserves, and it was the Central League then, the Pontons League I think it was called, and the games used to always kick off at 7 o'clock. So we were away from home somewhere, and we must be on the bus at, say, just after 9 o'clock. But that's only the second half of a game, and Everton were playing in the FA Cup. It was a replay. It might have been Stockport or someone. It's definitely Joe Royal era.
96 days that.
Yeah, I don't know why Stockport just comes to me. I might be wrong. And Stockport scores, and a little bit of the bus. Not the players. The players weren't that bothered. When it's not local players, if you're a fella from abroad, he doesn't care about Everton. No, he's not interested. But a few at the top of the bus, like Ronnie Moran, a few of the coaching staff, yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. So when Everton scored, I not to do it to them, but just a natural reaction, get in, you know what I mean? And it was noted by the staff, and they pulled me on it, saying, like, in a nice way, they sort of said, listen, we think you're going to play for the first team. That mine. We think you're going to play for the first team. This is going to be knocked on the head. And then the youth, that was Ronnie Moran, and then the youth coach went, you've got to be, I know this is can't go on type of thing. I wouldn't say that day I changed or nothing like that, but I always, as soon as you start playing for Liverpool, you're going to start getting stick off Everton fans. Do you know what I mean? And that's the bottom end of it. And then you go into derby games, and I don't care who you are, you want to win the game. And there's that nastiness in derby games, unfortunately, at times. And maybe I've got a little bit there. And listen, I had as an Everton fan, couldn't stand Liverpool. Yeah. Desperate to beat them, hope they lost every other game that they played. And then you get it for Liverpool against Everton. So then you start like, I mean, even, and this is in my book, my first game for Liverpool on the bench was Middlesbrough away when Ravanelli got a hat-trick. So that game finished 3-3. So I was warming up at half-time, but Everton were playing Newcastle at home. It was Alan Shearer's first game, and Everton were winning 2-0 at half-time. And I was just warming up, I've got to be Liverpool, and I'm like going like that to my dad, 2-0. Oh my God, it's 2-0 to Everton. Yeah. And it was like, so, it wasn't something that just like you flick a switch, but the longer you're playing for Liverpool and you get in the team, when you're playing for Liverpool, you become a little bit indifferent to the Everton score because you're Liverpool, and then once you start playing in derby games and you're getting a bit of stick off Everton fans and you feel it in games, you start becoming like a proper Liverpool fan, which a proper Liverpool fan, like a proper Everton fan, wants the rivals to get beat. Yeah. So I want Everton to get beat now, but I can't, that's how I've become, and you'll say, how can that be? But you just do. No one was more passionate than me for Everton, and no one was, I don't think there's many players who played for Liverpool since I've been playing who's more passionate for the club than me, even now that I've stopped playing.
No, I can probably agree with that. It's a fair answer. It doesn't make sense, but it makes sense if that, if that makes sense. Just turn it off. We're going nowhere here. Look, I've mentioned a couple of players there, Duncan Ferguson and Tim Cahill. Is there any players that you were behind in the tunnel or in front of and you were thinking, with these, Everton in trouble? And that trouble would be maybe Gerrard. Is there any more than other than Gerrard?
Sorry, what do you mean? So
you're in the tunnel in a Merseyside Derby. Yeah. I've mentioned in the stands, I'm thinking, because I've got Duncan Ferguson and Tim Cahill, we're going to rattle these or at least give them a game. Yeah. What were the players that you were playing with, standing with, thinking Everton in trouble here today because he's on the pitch for us?
Well, I mean, the obvious one would be Stevie, but to be honest, I never went into derby games. I used to be nervous for derby games because obviously fearing the result. I was like that as a kid on the other side. For me, it's always the biggest game. For me, Monday night's game is bigger than, I'll be more up for this game or excited for this game than I would be for the Man United game. It is. And the way I used to get through the nerves as a player would always be, if we play well, we'll win. I used to always love that thing in my head of, we're better than Everton, so if you play well, you'll win. That got me through the days leading up to the game, as if like, well, okay. And I have to say, Everton used to bottle it badly, because I'd watched David Moyes' Everton team, and I think they were brilliant teams, David Moyes, and I have to say this, I think he's done an unbelievable job at Everton, and I can't believe sometimes some of the stick I hear he gets on Everton fans is just ridiculous. But you used to beat, I'd say you beat Arsenal at home, Man United at home, Chelsea at home, and you'd think Goodison's a tough place to go. It always is. But we'd still go there and win. And I can think, and we weren't better than United, we weren't better than Chelsea, but we'd still beat you. And I used to think it's a mental thing. It's like that thing that I talked about as a kid, you start thinking of all the times decisions have gone against you or big games that you've lost, and it's almost like, I always felt Everton was scared to win. It was almost like, and they'd either be too hyped up for it and get someone sent off.
A few times,
Yeah, and I used to love playing at Goodison. Because I don't like playing on massive pitches for obvious reasons, but Goodison's such a tight pitch and you can start passing it and getting it into people, and I love playing on I just think small pitches in general. I love watching games. It feels more end-to-end, more action in the goals, so I love watching any game at Goodison. But I'd always feel that your front players and your midfield would be trying to snap someone, and the crowds would going to be running everywhere. And if you made a couple of passes, the back four would be in Stanley Park or somewhere, you know what I mean? They'd be terrified of pace. So there'd be this massive gap between Everton's midfield, and if you could just make a couple of passes and get in there, you'd be away.
So to stick with that sort of continued after you've stopped playing. So when you were playing and you were part of some really, really good Liverpool teams that Everton, I think, competed with, I think towards the end of the career, there was one game in particular, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to who you played with, was the semi-final at Wembley. I think I had Liverpool mates who were like, you'll do us here because we've got some players who are not as good. I went into there thinking like, finally, it was worth all this. And then, obviously, Liverpool fans watching this will say you deserve to win, Everton fans will say we're unlucky. That's continued. Even when you're not playing, it's continued. Like, this season, for instance, I think Liverpool were there to be beat, and Everton can't go and do it, nearly lose it in injury time as Salah hits the post. Do you think it is just a mental thing?
Yeah, it is. It's. I don't think it's just...
With different dressing rooms, I mean, and different...
I know. I just think it's an Everton thing. I think there's certain clubs, I wouldn't say are supposed to win, but because they've won so often in the past, it's just that they believe they're going to win. I know Everton go into every derby game thinking they're going to get beat. They just do. You do it. You go the game. You think something bad's going to happen. You know, there's certain clubs who I think are a little bit like that. I've just had a conversation with my son in the house, and I might be proven wrong. We were talking about Man United playing Newcastle in the cup final. He said, who do you think will win? I said, United will win. I said, because United will believe they're going to win. Newcastle will always think, it's always that little hard luck story. It was like Liverpool in the Champions League final against Tottenham. Going to that game, and at the time Liverpool and Spurs were like that. Liverpool will win that game because they're playing Tottenham. Tottenham aren't supposed to win the Champions League. Liverpool are.
It's mad, isn't it?
That mentality, and I just think Everton going to games against Liverpool, there's always that thing of, oh, Clive Thomas, Clattenburg, you know.
Want to get to that.
This game, that game. I just know it's a mentality, and I think we go into the game believing that we'll win, because, and even when we're not playing well, you just think something will happen. Something, you know, like we're not playing. I mean, use beat Arsenal. Liverpool are not playing. Liverpool have been awful, absolutely shocking. But I still believe Liverpool will win.
The same thing, yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's Liverpool. They find a way. Something will happen. Something will go for us. You find a way to win, and I do believe that. But going back to that derby, that semi-final, that's the only time I think I've gone into a game where I probably didn't feel 100% like that. And I always remember getting off the train, getting on the coach to the hotel. It was Evertonians everywhere. Every time you went past the pub, it was almost like you thought, oh, we're going to make them. Yeah, this is our weekend. We're going to make the most of this. We're going down for 2 nights, 3 nights. Yeah, this is happening. And I couldn't see any Liverpool. I was like, me and Steve just looking at the coach thinking, oh my God. Played the game. I was involved in the first goal for Everton. A bit of a mix-up between me and Daniel Agger. And
Jalovic scored, didn't he?
Yeah. And then we go in at half time, and I'm trying to lift the players. And we had a few new. I remember Jordan Henderson and Stuart Dynam. And I remember trying to get everyone going, and it was just I was getting nothing back, you know. And I was like, I mean, I was proven right what I was saying at half time, but no one I think was believing me or buying into it. I was almost saying, we get one, these will fold. We'll get one. Now I don't know if I believed it myself, but it was almost like we get one, they'll go. They do it every year. They do it every year, and it happened. But that was I think that was the end of the Moyes era. That was like, that was, yeah. I mean, it still had a couple of years and did well, but it felt like that was, I think that just absolutely crushes, didn't it, that one? Because you knew, I think he's finished above us that season, but I think you knew we were, it was a big one. I actually, would you believe this? Because of like how social media, no, I got when Liverpool are playing like a big game, so Everton or Man United, someone sends me pictures to put on social media, you know, before the game, you know, whatever. And someone sent me, I've never seen it before. You see, and it was from that game, and it shows you the relief. So that's, I mean, you probably won't get it here on the camera, will they? So that's basic. That's me and Craig Bellamy on the floor, I think.
And our players are down on the deck.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that only come to me about half an hour ago, and I've never seen that. And that game was one of the biggest reliefs I've ever had in my life, that game. Because I wasn't in the team every week then, but Kenny only played me because it was Everton. And I'd made a mistake. I was involved with Daniel Agger, and I thought the thought of losing to Everton in a semi-final. And it's not just the thought of losing, it's like the build-up I'll have for the final, you know, the echoes there.
And you'd have got it.
Everyone had scarves, everyone, and I'd have been like, that felt like we lost the cup final to Chelsea. I mean, I didn't play. I wouldn't say I didn't care. Of course, I wanted us to win the cup final, but that was the cup final for me. You know, just winning that game, the relief at the end on the floor, just thinking, oh my God, how have we won that? Couldn't believe that we'd won it, but we did.
I do want to talk about this season, but there's a couple of questions still from your playing career that I do want to ask you. First one, that Clattenburg derby. Now, I'll give you a little behind the scenes. I'm sitting in the street end. The assault on Lescott is in front of me. We've just scored a penalty. We're down to 9 men, so you can imagine it's chaos. There's grown men who are frothing, and he doesn't give it. You turn round at full time and you give it like you're looking at me. And I'm like, I'm never doing a podcast with him. And then you ran to the away end and you were celebrating. It was, my point is, it was so horrible for us. Did that make it better for you?
Yeah, yeah. And you got to remember, for me that game felt like a cup final, because the year before you beat us 3-0. Andy Johnson scored 2, and I'd had a nightmare. And I shouldn't have played that game. I wasn't fit. I got injured first game of the season at Sheffield United. So maybe this was like 4 or 5 games into the season. So I'd missed 2 or 3 games. And because it was Everton, I was like, I'm playing. And it just made me think you can't go into a derby game if you're not right. You know, after that was a real big lesson for me. And don't forget, I think the next fixture was at Anfield and we drew 0-0. So it was next time I go to Goodison the following season. And don't forget, I've had like 6 months every time I go to town. Andy Johnson, Everton fan, ever go, oh, Andy Johnson. And I'm just like an absolute raving lunatic. I'm going to put this right. And I don't know if Andy Johnson played that game or he'd gone by then.
No, he never. He was, do you know what?
He wasn't at Everton that long, was he?
It was it 2 years? Who replaced him by that
point? As he, yeah, okay. And so it was, on the back of that, it was big, yeah. For me. And did Sammy Appiah score an own goal in that game?
Yeah, so we went 1-0
Yeah, we went 1-0 up. And we scored 2 penalties.
Half time.
Second
half, Gerrard tells Clattenburg, off goes Tony a bit, 1-1, 10 men.
Yeah, but it was a red card, wasn't it?
It was, but it was the visual of like, he had the yellow in his hands and then...
I've interviewed Mark Clattenburg on a podcast I did a while ago, and you know what? He spoke about that game a lot, and did you listen to it?
I was more angry listening to it than I was at the game.
No, but he said something, he said a few things. He said, well, he was saying he got the wrong card, and then swapped. It wasn't what Gerrard, but he's bound to say that, I suppose. But he sort of said in that game that he should have given a few more things. What did he say?
He said the game was too big. He'd done some other derbies leading up, and
yeah.
that one he wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, okay,
I think he said in the game, like it was just hostile,
it felt like,
and it felt like the Evertonians were on him, and then he was more careful and give him more stuff, but it was just...
Well, I mean, the big one he got wrong was obviously Lescott, wasn't it? I think that was the big... Obviously, I think Phil Neville handballed on the line, so he was going to get sent off. And the Lescott one,
You know, on Sky post-match going, it's a man's game. What?
But you know what? You know why I said that? You know what that's from? The Office.
Oh, Brent and the woman.
Yeah. So at the time we were watching Office a lot, me and Stevie.
You got an Office quote in a Merseyside
Yeah, so we got an
Derby
Office quote in there. You know, he's like here, isn't he? With the ball. And he hits down and she
Karen Roper.
Yeah. It's a man's game. Yeah. So that's where that was from, yeah.
Oh, nightmare.
So we got an Office reference.
Should never have asked. Quick fire ones before we move on to this season. What hurt more? Was it a 3-0 where you played bad, or was it maybe a 1-0 Dan Gosling where it was just late and you had no time?
The 3-0. I mean, obviously we lost the 1-0. I mean, I still think about that game now.
There was no time for you to do nothing else. That's that 1-0.
I mean, Torres missed a sitter in the first game at Anfield, right at the end, and Torres was unbelievable for us. Don't get me wrong, he's done well in derby games, but he could have a shocker. He's the type of player who's, you know, every 5, Jagielka played him brilliantly, but he was shocking that night. Oh, I couldn't believe it. And Benitez played there.
Gerrard went off injured, and we all celebrated like with squad, if you remember. Then Lucas Leiva got sent off.
Lucas Leiva he played Lucas instead. He didn't play Xabi Alonso. We'd had a lot of games. We were going for the league that season, but he didn't play Alonso either. And oh God, yeah. I can still see it going in now. It's like
The flip side.
But the 3-0 was a bad one. Yeah, that was like, it took me a while to get over that.
Flip side, what's a better dressing room to be in when you've battered Everton, talking maybe 3-0 Gerrard's hat-trick where he played us off the park, or a late winner, a Gary Mack or something like that? What's
the Gary Mack one, yeah.
To hear late on,
yeah. I think so, yeah. Yeah, listen, to win a derby game late on. That was I think we were down to 10 men that game. Biscan had been sent off. And that was Hughes was, I think, fighting relegation. That was Walter Smith, wasn't it? Unsworth scored a pen, I remember that.
Ferguson was half fit, he wheeled in out to score,
Yeah, Ferguson scored, Esky scored. Robbie missed a pen.
Babel scored, didn't he?
Robbie missed a pen to put us 3-1 up. Yeah. But yeah, that game sort of just not changed our season, we were doing well. That was when we won the 3 cups. We'd lost to Leeds 2 days before. So winning that, I think that was almost like that game, and then we had another 10 games including a couple of cup finals. I think we won them all and drew 1. So I think if we'd have lost that, I'm not sure we'd have won the 2 cups. It was just that just gave us like a thing to just go on.
Fault.
Yeah, Paul Gerrard.
Paul Gerrard's fault. All right, get into this season. We're in February. There's 3 months left of the season. Everton 19th, Liverpool at 10th. Did you see that coming? Did you see that Everton would be struggling so bad and Liverpool, not struggling so bad, but nowhere near within the league?
I think Liverpool's been shocking. I mean, really bad. It's hard to be too critical because of what the players and the manager have done before, so you find it hard. But you can't be where you are in the league. That's not acceptable. And also the performances have been, honestly, I think, and I've played in some poor Liverpool teams and we've had some bad days, but how Liverpool performed at Brighton, how Liverpool performed at Wolves, how they performed at Brentford, some of the games early on the season, I know Napoli are a good team to be fair, but I mean you can't believe how bad it is. And I'm struggling to think of performances that I was involved in that were as bad as some of those that we've seen this season. So that for me is bigger than the actual results, the actual performance, because sometimes you think we're not far away, but it feels like Liverpool are a million miles away from where they've been the last few years, and I'm not sure this team can get it back. It just feels to me as if that team have done everything they can last season, and that was it. It was done, and it just feels like Klopp and the owners have almost got to build a new team for next season. Now, I don't see this team coming back next season the way it did after in that COVID season when they had the centre-backs out and stuff like that. You knew they got centre-backs back because they only bought one player, Canate, that summer, and almost won 4 trophies. So I think it's bigger than that. I think Liverpool started the season believing they needed a midfielder. I think they now need a midfield. You know, so I think Liverpool need 4 or 5 players, and that's 3 of them to at least go in the team week in, week out. So I think it's a bit of an overhaul, yeah.
And Salah's form? I was looking at Salah's form, and his stats don't say a lot, but I think he scored 7 goals in the Prem.
Yeah. I think he still scored nearly 20 goals,
I mean,
you know, he'll end up with 25, close to 30, and we judge Salah so highly. Yeah, the team's not playing well, so Salah's not going to be his best. I've never believed Salah was a great player as such. He's a great goal scorer. He's very direct, everything's about the goal, he runs for the goal. So at times you can have games where, a little bit like Torres, where he can get the ball and he runs into people and he loses possession. He's not someone he's on the ball and you're thinking, you know, like something like, sometimes you just think, just keep it and make you run in behind or whatever. And when he's on blob, he can do that, but he's just going through a little spell now, but it's not helped by the team. But I'm not bothered about Salah. Sometimes I think when he's gone that long without a goal, he's obviously going to score, isn't he, soon? You know, if I was Everton, I'd be thinking, Salah's due a goal. That's the way I'm thinking of it. You know, he's gone a few games without a goal, so there must be one round the corner because you can't score that many goals.
Entered Everton, eh?
Exactly, yeah, perfect.
So I've watched Monday Night Football loads, and your analysis on Everton is always spot on. I said to you off here, sometimes I think you say more positives than some of our ex-players. As a pundit, how's it gone so wrong the past couple of seasons? I'll be honest with you, last season, saying to Jay, my mate, he has having sleepless nights in April. 37 having sleepless nights. It's going to happen again. How's it gone so wrong? Because 2 years ago, Carlo Ancelotti's there. On paper, you've got a billionaire owner. He brought James Rodriguez in to try and win some games for Everton. And it looks like if you get into Europe, that's all it might take. To go from that to staying up on the last Thursday of last season to being bottom now, where do you think as a pundit it's gone so south for Everton? Is it a number of things?
I think it is. I don't think the club is run right. I've obviously been vocal on that. I don't think it's gone down too well inside the corridors of Goodison Park. But, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I had a little bit of back and forth with someone at Everton. They were obviously a little bit disappointed with what I'd said. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm the only pundit anyway who treats Everton with respect. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people are a little bit patronising to Everton, I feel, on TV. Because they're one of those clubs that they're never really at the top, they're never really at the bottom. So the story, the stories are at the top of the league. Everton had a story the last 2 years because they're at the bottom. But more often than not, it's just, for you, they're the biggest thing in the world. But for people who have got other teams and they're covering TV, they're a team who finish sometimes 8th, sometimes 12th, whatever. Now, I want to say I give Everton respect. I do more analysis on Everton than probably other people do because I'm in the city. I was an Everton fan. I've got family members. I know what's going on. I follow Everton podcasts or fans, so I feel like I can do a better analysis of Everton than other people on other shows because I'm more informed, basically.
I agree.
Now, I'm a lot more positive about Everton when they're doing well and go into detail about it. But the flip side is that I'm probably more critical when it's not going well, where a lot of people maybe not too bothered. So that was my point to the person I was having a few texts back and forth with, is that like, hang on, I actually treat you with properly. Yeah. So if you want to be treated like a proper top club, because a lot of Everton fans go, oh, they don't care about us, you know, the big six, or no one does nothing about us on Match of the Day or Sky, whatever. Now, if you want to be treated like one of those clubs, you've got to take the rough with the smooth. So when you're doing well, yeah, I'll be the first person to do a piece on Monday night. I'll go into Monday morning, the meeting, and I'll say, I want to do a piece on Everton, what Ancelotti's doing, or what Frank's doing, whatever it may be. But the flip side of it, when it's not going well. And yet I think the big thing, I mean, Benitez was just, chaos. I actually thought he would do okay, because he's always done okay, Benitez, with teams just below the elite, who punch above the weight. You know, like a Valencia, Napoli, even Liverpool, when we were competing with sort of Man U and Chelsea, had a lot more money, we'd still find a way of beating them, or do something.
Newcastle fans loved them, still do.
Newcastle the same. I knew the fans would be a problem, but I don't actually think the fans were a problem. It was just football was awful, and the results were terrible. So Everton fans shouldn't get that thrown at them, to be honest. But Frank, people talking about Sean Dyche now, so it's right. We've gone back to doing this with Sean Dyche. Everyone behind the ball, tough to beat, a little bit more direct, goal off a set piece. But the thing I analysed last season was Frank Lampard, we know, is a manager who wants to play good football. He wants his teams to play, whether it was at Derby, Chelsea, when he came in at Everton. The end of last season, he went back to being like his team become a Sean Dyche team. We highlighted that on Monday Night Football, how long Pickford was going. So what we did was we looked at this first game, I think it was Newcastle, in the league. It was away at Newcastle. His first game was a cup game. Brentford. But his first league game, so we can obviously show the FA Cup on Sky. So first game away at Newcastle, Pickford's playing out from the back. So this is the idea. And then we went to, now look what it's changed to. He went out. The start of this season, I was always thinking, what will he do, Frank, here? Will he go, you know what, this is Everton type of football, we've had good results, or do I want to show what I want to do as a manager? So it's always that balancing act as a manager. And he went back to being what he wants Everton to be in his eyes. Yeah. So he actually had his best results when he played Sean Dyche type of football, really. So Everton have done that of late. And what I would say is the big thing that stood out that we were going to do, and I was on Everton, but then Frank got sacked on that Monday, was that something that won't happen under Sean Dyche. If you think of this season, you think of the first goal Everton conceded in open play. What was it?
So Chelsea at home
was a penalty.
Yeah. Then we had Leeds away, with Brentford away.
Was it not Aston Villa away? Or was that the third
Aston
game?
Villa away was the second game, you're right.
So that was the second game.
Lost it in possession, I think, and Danny
But the
scored.
first goal of the game was Everton with the ball, losing on the halfway line, ball goes out wide, Tarkovsky gets dragged out wide, ball comes in, goal.
Danny Ings, yeah.
The last goal Everton conceded under Frank Lampard was Everton having the ball, lose the ball, Tarkovsky gets dragged out to the left, this against West Ham, ball comes in, goal. Yeah. And that sums up. So Everton were counter-attacked, conceded more counter-attacking goals than anyone in the league. They conceded 7. The next worst was 4th. So that won't happen to Sean Dyche. That he will look at that and just go, well, no one's going to score a goal against us in the counter-attack. Because if you go direct, you've got everyone behind the ball, you can't be counter-attacked. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So Frank wanted to play a bit of football. Played, obviously you lose the ball, bang, you've got 2 centre-backs who are not the most mobile.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's hard as a manager, it's hard to play a way that you don't feel 100% about. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Whereas Sean Dyche comes in and goes, no, that's how we're playing. And he knows it better than anyone, how to play that way, what to do. And yeah, I mean, I think it makes the Derby game a lot tougher. Certainly for Liverpool now that Sean Dyche is in charge. But yeah, I mean, that's the problem I saw with sort of Frank, in that he probably played a little bit too expansive for the squad and the players that he had, and he had his best time when he went more pragmatic to try and keep Everton up towards the end of the season. And it probably wasn't quite right this season, was it? And I think it's fair to say I get on great with Frank. Good pals, but I think
he's a nice fella though. We could see.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
And he was trying his best. He was trying his best. That's why we didn't sort of turn, if you will.
Yeah, I just think you couldn't argue with the change. No, you really. So yeah, I think it was a decision Everton probably had to make.
2 last questions, because you've been dead generous with your time. First one, how's it going to go Monday in the derby? There's two teams who are, even though we've won against Arsenal, as a whole, probably lacking confidence, two nervous fan bases. It'll make for an exciting game for the neutral. How's it going to go?
I mean, I always think Liverpool will win at Anfield. Liverpool have had a shocking season, but the form at Anfield's not too bad. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I know the away record is horrendous. But at home, I think it's been, well, obviously beat Manchester City, drew with Chelsea. I don't know if we've lost a game at all this season. We might have lost one in the league. I know we lost to Leeds.
Oh, yeah.
Lost to Leeds. So, I think Liverpool will win. I think it'll be a tough game. I mean, the big thing for Liverpool is could they get a goal in the first half? And then it completely changes the game. You know, Everton have obviously got to come out, got to change a little bit. Everton's way they set up is all built on not conceding and not conceding the first goal, really. And I think it's probably a game Liverpool needs right now. You know, there'll be a good atmosphere. It's a night game, always adds to the atmosphere, the energy, the pace in the game will be a little bit quicker. I do fear for Liverpool in midfield. If Liverpool play the midfield they've been playing of late, dealing with the midfield Sean Dyche picked on against Arsenal, could Liverpool be overpowered? So if it was me, I'd be going back to Fabinho and Henderson, even though it hasn't gone well this season, but I think I'd go back to them just for the exercise and physicality. And yeah, I think Liverpool will just do enough.
Nearly has them, nearly got them back. There you have it, the Merseyside Derby prediction with Jamie Carragher. I did say there was one more question. When's the last time you watched The Office? Have you got the DVDs out lately?
No, I go on it on the social media. It's on UK Gold or something, isn't it? About 10 o'clock, you might throw one on. Yeah. But I just see it just pop up on the social media. And there's a fella who runs another account called David Brent. He's a Leicester fan. Yeah. So I've got to know him, so private message him all the time. He wants Rodgers out. He's wanted him out for about 2 years. He's a big Leicester fan. But no, that's a first, isn't it? The reference to The Office after the Merseyside Derby.
The one exclusive I didn't want, because that comment's always stuck with me and I've never linked it as a big Office fan. I've got onto sometimes on Monday Night Football where you've said something I've been like, that's an Office quote, Dax. I know you're honest in saying you were a massive Office fan. I love those like you, those social media sites and little memes of like someone walking out and someone puts an Office line on it. Absolutely brilliant. It's good, isn't it? Timeless. Oh, but that's it, the Merseyside Derby preview with Across the Park podcast here in the Rock Salt in Crosby. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Jamie Carragher. Get us over on the Twitter, it's @AcrossTheParkPC. The Instagram is also @AcrossTheParkPC. If you watch it on YouTube, please like, subscribe and share this in all your WhatsApp groups. Thanks for watching. See you again next week.